Culture Crew, and welcome back to another exciting edition of Kulture Kids Storytime. One thing that I have always loved about our people is we are incredibly creative. Whether it's creating a new invention, doing a craft, creating artwork, whatever that is, we are amazing at it. This chapter in Heart and Soul, we will be talking about Black innovation. This is the time where we're really going to put a light on all of the things that we did to help make creations that have really lasted generation after generation. So let's dive in and learn a little bit more. Education is the key to unlock the golden door of freedom. George Washington Carver, inventor. You may have heard folks say that Black people invented shoes, but child, that is not true. Everybody invented shoes, but it is true that in the 1880s, a Black man named Ernest Matzlinger invented a machine that made the process of making shoes a lot cheaper and faster. Matzlinger is one of many Black folks whose ideas have made the lives of everyone in the world a lot better. Black people have been making inventions since slavery days. Plenty of very practical things that help us to do work than what we were forced to do. Africans invented new ways of fishing, farming, basket weaving, ironsmithing. Since then, we've invented ways of keeping food fresh with curling salts and refrigeration, lubricating engines, safely linking train cars, controlling traffic flow, improving lighting fixtures, helping firefighters breathe in smoke-filled rooms, and making supercomputers faster, among many other things. Everybody knows that we have created brilliant types of music like spirituals, jazz, blues, gospel, rock, and roll, and so on. And that we have done very well in athletics. Yes, honey, we all know that, even if we try to downplay it. But we've done so much more. Have you ever used an ironing board? Sat on a folding chair? Used a dustpan? Ridden in a convertible or a horse saddle, read an almanac, used a fountain pen that didn't require dipping it into an inkwell, sat at a traffic light, seen a gas mask, used a golf tee, turned on an electric light bulb, eaten food delivered by a truck, used an ice cream scooper, gone to a blood bank, used a batting helmet or shin guards, or enjoyed potato chips? I'll bet you have. Most people don't know that all of these things were invented by or improved by Black folks. One of our finest inventors was a fellow named Elijah McCoy. Among many other useful things like the ironing board and lawn sprinkler, he invented a lubricating cup that oiled the gears of a train engine. Several people tried to copy his invention, but folks who knew quality only wanted the real McCoy. Another inventor, Lewis Latimer, improved on Edison's electric lamp by inventing a filament that could be produced much more cheaply. George Washington Carver was one of our most gifted inventors. He loved nature, and outside of his genius for making plants grow, he invented hundreds of products from soybeans, sweet potatoes, and peanuts. From soap to ink to synthetic rubber. Frederick M. Jones invented a portable X-ray machine and a refrigeration unit for food delivery trucks, ships, and airplanes. Dr. Charles Drew figured out how to separate blood cells from plasma to preserve blood longer than the week or so it lasted when it was whole, which led to the creation of blood banks all over the world. Annie Malone and Madam C.J. Walker invented hair growing lotions that were so popular they made millions of dollars. Walker used her wealth to help with the movement to get the vote for women. Garrett Morgan invented the first automatic traffic signal. Granville Woods invented a train-to-train communication system. Otis Boykin invented a control device for guided missiles and computers, and the pacemaker, etc., etc. I could go on forever, honey, but I've left out what is probably the most important idea ever introduced to America by an African American. It was brought to us by a young preacher from Georgia who used it to change the course of history. It was a tactic that he learned from Mahatma Gandhi, who used it to free his people in India from British rule. The young preacher combined it with the ideas from the Good Book and America's Declaration of Independence to create a new message that spoke to all people, a message that had more power than any fist, gun, or bomb. This young man was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and the idea was the peaceful protest. So in this chapter, we, start talking about the inventions that our people have put into place. But there's a few clarifications that I want to make. So as we talk about racism and the things that have happened to Black people, the book mentions Mahatma Gandhi and his contributions to basically help forward Dr. King's dream. What they don't tell you is that Gandhi was not a fan of Black people. There was a time when he would think of us in very negative and derogatory ways. And so as we're reading these stories, we need to understand all of the aspects of history and how they affect us. George Washington Carver, as he was mentioned in this story, was so brilliant, and he is one of the true pioneers in terms of how we look at food and how food is used today. And his brilliance cannot be overstated enough. There's a lot of things that you're hearing in these books that I invite you to go and talk to with your parents so that you can dive deeper on the topics. Last week, we talked about things like the stock market, the Great Depression. This week, we're talking about famous inventors. These are all topics that you'll want to know and understand. So if you do have additional questions, please reach out to the adults in your life, and ask them to help you do your research so that you have a better understanding of the world around you. I do hope that you enjoyed this section of Heart and Soul when we were talking about Black inventors. And I invite you to come back and check out next week's edition of Kulture Kids Storytime. Thanks so much, guys, and have a good one.